our first finalist will be Todd Albin, CEO of Cedar Health. Welcome.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Great to see everyone here back at SCRS. My name is Todd Albin, the CEO for Cedar Health Research, and we're going to take you through a case study we had of a very successful implementation of both the technology and patient engagement operation to support one of our trials. We look at patient recruitment as very much an art and a science these days, because both are really required to effectively engage and educate patients as well as effectively enroll. Our operating model is a unique spin on the integrated site network model. What we do is, with our technology partner Aspen Insights, we identify community physician practices who don't have the bandwidth, resources, they're too high volume, too busy to accommodate integrate research, but they want to make research available to their patients. And we bridge this through technology by integrating AI machine learning technology into their electronic health record systems to eliminate all the tedious chart review and identify patients that qualify for trials that we enroll into our hub sites that are located within these communities around these sites, around these practices, eliminating the burdens and barriers to access to clinical trials for both the providers and their patients alike. In this particular case study, we were recruiting for a very complex meningitis vaccine study that required patients to have started their meningitis A vaccine series, have had the first shot, not have had the second shot, and not more than 6 months to occur between the two. So very complex criteria. We partnered with 3 pediatric practices in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Each just happened to be high-volume practices that met this profile of having a lot of physicians, a lot of patients, but no time, no bandwidth, no resources to do research, but wanted to make research available to their patients. And each of these practices represented 3 very distinct socioeconomic, race and ethnicity profiles within the very diverse Dallas Metroplex. We integrated the Aspen Insights technology into all 3 of these practices' EMR systems, allowing us to do patient matching using the AI machine learning algorithms through a single pane of glass. Typically what you would do in a study like this would be to do an EMR ICD-10 code search to find which patients actually had a meningitis vaccine, and then you would have to review the charts to find the ones that met the temporal criteria as well as the rest of the inclusion criteria. The data scientists on the Aspen Insights team wrote a custom algorithm taking the 45,000 patients within this population that had at least one meningitis vaccine and identified the 1,894 that met the inclusion-exclusion criteria plus the temporal criteria for the vaccine period, giving us 1,894 pre-qualified patients that we knew met all the criteria to do our engagement there. A lot of this, though, kind of starts at the beginning. That's the science part. The art part is being able to do the patient engagement and education and awareness. And this starts as soon as we partner with the practice, providing patient engagement and education materials, in this case to the pediatric practices, to the parents to make them aware that clinical research was now part of this practice, the role it plays in healthcare, clinical research as a care option. This way, when they were engaged on the clinical research opportunity, some of their knowledge and education barriers and mistrust were brought down so they'd be open to considering it as an option. Diversity enrollment, very much part of our mission. Our diversity task force really helps steer a lot of our messaging. As I mentioned, these sites were in very diverse communities, and we wanted to make sure we had multilingual, culturally sensitive materials out there that could very much be reflective in how we engage these patients. And because some of these practices had patients that were further out in locale, we also want to reduce barriers like transportation by providing the Lyft Concierge transportation service, not just for screening, but to help retain the patients in the study as well. The results of this were quite compelling. Having the main focus of addressing these patients through the ones we pre-identified using the technology, and then all of that engagement and education we did at the practices, we were to enroll 38 patients, from that group. By compared to other means, because we also do other traditional recruitment, external recruitment campaigns that we funded generated 15 patients, and then the traditional practice patient referral journey, delivered about 6 patients. So this was definitely the compelling way. And then it also really impacted our ability to have a diverse enrollment. The reflective enrollment, by pulling from these 3 practices from 3 very different diverse areas, our actual enrollment was very reflective of national demographics. What this produced as the end result, we came on, as I mentioned, as a rescue site 3 months after all the other sites were initiated. We exceeded sponsor expectations by 150%, had a site enrollment rate of 6 patients per month versus 2 patients per month for all of the other sites, finishing as the #2 enroller in the United States and #3 site in the world. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Todd. All right, judge panel, take it away with your questions.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. So fantastic presentation. Really excited about the work that your site is doing. Just one question for you. I heard you mention a couple of times about the 3 different sites and the different, I guess, demographics at that site, socioeconomic and otherwise. Can you tell us a little bit more about that diversity between the sites? What did that patient population look like?
Sure. Yeah. Dallas-Fort Worth is the 4th most diverse metroplex in the United States, wide-ranging in terms of obviously Caucasian population, Black population, Hispanic, Asian, Middle Eastern, and the practices that we partner with these large. One was in, I would say, a predominantly upper-class Caucasian area. One was in a predominantly African American community in the south part of Dallas, and another was in a predominantly mix of Hispanic, Asian, Middle Eastern in the Irving part of Dallas. So, these were, all practices who wanted to be in clinical research, but they just didn't have the means, were too busy, couldn't handle integrated research on site. So using technology in our site engagement team, we were able to bridge that gap to be able to offer clinical trials. And this is what we do. We bring clinical trials to underserved communities by providing a means to deliver trials without putting a huge burden on the practice if the doctors don't have time to be the investigators, if they don't have staff or space to host research. It all happens there, and we essentially act as their offsite research department.
Can you tell me more about the diversity task force and who was selected and how they were selected to serve?
Yeah, sure. So our chief medical officer, Dr. Ezekiel Fink, he's a neurologist who's worked in clinical development and in healthcare for many, many years. He's the head of pain at Houston Methodist Hospital and was one of the chief consultants to the opioid crisis for the CDC, very much in tune with the diversity challenge. And when we founded our company, I myself, from having worked with SCRS for many years prior in other roles, understood the diversity initiative. He was very much in tune with it, and from the very setup as we launched our company 3.5 years ago, we needed to have this ingrained in our culture and our DNA from the beginning. So we made sure, and just in how we assembled our investigators, our coordinators, our community patient engagement team, that we were representatives of the communities that we were operating in terms of the making sure that we were being very open about how we selected folks, that we brought in a staff and team that was reflective of the communities we were operating in, and that's really what we put together. But Dr. Fink was really the one who spearheaded it because of his experience working with the CDC, working in Houston and Dallas and other areas, and understanding how to bridge the gaps in these communities.
Great. Thank you. Great.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Todd. Great presentation.